Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
Another march will take to the streets tomorrow morning in Fargo. The groups One Fargo and Black Lives Matter have scheduled it to start at 9 a.m. at Island Park. From there, they say it's on to Fargo City Hall. Valley News Team's Alexandra Kay has details on the changes you can expect tomorrow, whether you're marching or not.
Thousands of marchers took to the streets of Fargo on May 30th, walking down primary streets, blocking traffic, and rallying for their cause. And just like that time, the city of Fargo says it's prepared for Friday's event. Mayor Tim Mahoney has declared an emergency. This time around, the declaration removed the limiting of weapons. Mahoney saying this went against state law. The emergency declaration will be lifted when the mayor feels it is safe to do so. City buildings, including the library, City Hall, and Fargo Municipal Court, will be closed as a precaution. We now know the route march organizers say they plan to take from Island Park to City Hall. Authorities say they will be blocking Main Street at Broadway and at 2nd Street for the marchers. Some of the businesses that will be affected by the closure, like the Frying Pan on Main, tell us they didn't know of the expected road closure. Earlier this week, organizers indicated they would be placing people along the route to keep an eye out for any troublemakers. They said if there was, they would confront the individuals.
Mahoney, I hope that you are watching.
Organizers also want to meet with Mayor Mahoney and discuss the signing of an agreement that they say was earlier proposed by the city as a way to move issues forward. That's expected to take place at City Hall. In Fargo, Alexandra Kay, Valley News Live.
Mayor Mahoney said in a statement today that the city is ready to protect the safety of the residents, their livelihoods, and city's infrastructure. Look for coverage of the march tomorrow on Valley News Live, valleynewslive.com, and on the VNL News app. And tonight, just hours before the march, One Fargo released audio of a discussion they had with Mayor Mahoney and Police Chief Todd, where they questioned who was in charge of the investigation involving former Deputy Chief Todd Osmundson's action during the May 30th riot.
So who's in control of this internal investigation?
For the internal investigation on what Ozzy did?
Yes.
Our internal affairs sergeant.
And so it's within the department?
Yeah.
And this is someone that reports to you?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that we're going to definitely call to have that changed.
6-minute audio clip. One Fargo organizers continue their claims of receiving incomplete answers regarding the riot. If you'd like to hear the entire 6-minute clip, you can head to our website or the VNL app. The city of West Fargo has proclaimed tomorrow, June 19th, as Juneteenth Celebration Day. It follows a similar move made by Governor Doug Burgum to honor the day across the state. West Fargo calls it a special day to recommit to liberty, justice, and equality to move the community forward and seek success and happiness for all. North Dakota election officials say people are complaining that a group is using deception to get them to sign a petition. The group is North Dakota Voters First, and they want to add 5 different measures to the state's constitution. One would extend the voting window for deployed military members to send in their mail-in ballots from 46 days to 60 days before an election. Another is switching to paper ballots and require random audits of precincts after an election. 2 things the state reportedly already does. North Dakota's Secretary of State says his office has gotten daily complaints, and he's concerned.
They indicate to us that they've been approached by a circulator, and what the circulator indicates is only one part of a very complex petition.
I would not say that there's anything deceptive happening at all on our side.
Campaign finance data shows that all of the group's funds are coming from Colorado, Texas, and Massachusetts. Organizers have to collect nearly 30,000 signatures by July 6th, which they say they will reach. About 19,000 businesses in North Dakota are receiving Paycheck Protection Program loans. A new law will help make it easier for businesses to receive loan forgiveness. The Flexibility Act will allow borrowers 24 weeks to restore their workforce to pre-pandemic levels instead of just 8 weeks. It will also drop the amount of the loan that must be used on payroll costs from 75% to 60%. and allow 5 years to repay the loan instead of 2 if the borrower doesn't receive full forgiveness.
I'm not going to accept somebody who just put some new costs in simply because they might be able to get it forgiven. They have to be a business cost that you have consistently had.
Businesses who need assistance can still apply for the Paycheck Protection Loan on the Small Business Administration's website until June 30th. The State Emergency Commission approved the use of more than $400 million in coronavirus relief money. This is the second round of the more than $1 billion package lawmakers approved to help agencies during the pandemic. There are 3 qualifications to claim a cut of the funds. It must be necessary to the pandemic, not a normal expenditure, and the funds must be spent between March 1st and the end of this year. There is still more than $300 million left in the package for North Dakota to allocate.
We know that there is additional pressure at the federal level about yet another stimulus plan, but there is also opposition to that at the federal level in terms of an additional stimulus plan. And so a potential compromise might be that while there's no new stimulus plan, there might be increased flexibility.
The commission planned on passing $408 million, but reduced it to $401 million after a $7 million request from Cass County was put on hold until all county requests come in. The Legislative Budget Section Committee has to approve the package before it can be sent out to the 41 agencies. North Dakota medical workers are getting some help from Taiwan in the form of 30,000 surgical masks. They've been distributed to Sanford Medical Center in Fargo. Taiwan's response to the coronavirus has been widely reported as one of the best models globally. In spite of its proximity to China, where the COVID-19 originated, Taiwan's incident rate per capita and fatality rate are among the lowest in the world. North Dakota is confirming 29 new cases and 1 more death in the state of COVID-19. The death toll in the state now stands at 75. Health officials say the man was in his 60s from Cass County and had underlying health conditions. 29 new positive tests are also being reported, bringing the active cases to 309. 9 of the new cases are in Cass County, 6 are in Grand Forks County. 2,809 are listed as recovered. Minnesota is reporting 387 new cases of COVID-19, with 19 more deaths linked to the virus. This brings the death toll in Minnesota to 1,344. Of those deaths, 1,064 happened in a long-term care facility. 387 new cases are reported, bringing the active case count to 2,765. 27,566 people are listed as recovered. Minneapolis's mayor, police chief, and other leaders from that area called on state lawmakers to change the state's law enforcement arbitration process. The legislature is currently in a special session where they are being called on to create change. Minneapolis police chief is promising change within the department, but said the arbitration process when it comes to disciplining officers is holding up the progress he's promising the change to make that the department is committed to do.
The arbitration process can erode the public trust that so many, the majority of our men and women on this department, build each and every day to strengthen those relationships with our community.
The Senate has 4 bills regarding police reform waiting for them when they reconvene tomorrow. 2 have to do with police reform. They would change how use of force is reported and background checks for other police staff. The clock is ticking for lawmakers in St. Paul when it comes to passing their bills. Republicans say the session will end tomorrow regardless if proposals are passed or not. Esme Murphy has the latest from the Capitol.
The image of us and the Senate walking away from systemic change on Juneteenth adds to the legacy of what the rest of the world is looking at here. It is unacceptable.
At a news conference, Governor Walz, top administration officials, and key DFL legislators belittled the GOP Senate package of reforms.
When I saw the senators' bills, I was insulted.
The Senate and House both have approved bills to ban chokeholds, a duty for officers to report abuse, and for officers to respect the sanctity of life. But the Senate bill has the Minnesota Post Board, which licenses police officers, drafting the language later. The House bill changes Minnesota law August 1st. Senator Gazelka indicated there might be room for compromise on the measure, but he was clearly angered with the governor's news conference.
It frankly shocked me.
Gazelka says it's the governor who is guilty of inaction for failing to respond immediately to the looting after George Floyd's death.
The lawlessness that happened as a result of not acting, so far over 1,000 buildings damaged, which really reflects people's lives, over $500 million of damage.
Looming over both sides, the possibility of not getting anything done, something the Attorney General, whose working group put out proposals a year ago on police violence, says he's seen before.
Before George Floyd breathed his last breath, we were working a year before to try to prevent that tragedy from ever happening.
And Senator Gazelka made it very clear the special session will end tomorrow night.
Friday is the day. This Friday, tomorrow, by the end of the night, we're going to be done.
Senator Gazelka has said he is open to having another special legislative session.